Alright guys, so this is going to be the second video. Actually, I might make it into three because Sony's press conference was super long. But I wanted to start off by saying yesterday I did the Microsoft press conference as well as EA, and I totally forgot about Sunset Overdrive for Microsoft, and that one's definitely going to be a Microsoft exclusive, and I think that game looks phenomenal. It reminds me a lot of Crackdown, which they announced at the game, mixed with, I don't quite know actually, but it has a Crackdown feel to it. But I love the fact that it's very, well, maybe it's like Crackdown mixed with SSX, that's snowboarding game, because it's got the vibrant colors. It doesn't look like it takes itself too seriously. It looks like it's going to be a refreshing change of pace and still be fun. I mean, even in the trailer, it showed like, a soldier about to get messed up, and it's just a refreshing change of pace, and I think that's what the game's going for. That there, I think, in conjunction with the Master Chief Collection, could really push Xbox One units, depending on the release date, which I didn't check out, but um, you know, uh, they're going to be coming up with an impressive library of games for the Xbox One. Um, and I'll reserve judgment for right now because I want to talk about Sony later too. But um, I think overall it's going to be a good holiday season and good 2015 for a lot of games that are going to be coming out. But anyway, back to Ubisoft's press conference. I ended up watching it, and for me, for Ubisoft's press conferences, I feel as if what they show off is always looks really good. They tend to make a lot of use of their CGI trailers for a lot of their games, but the tone and the setting and the buildup of excitement for their games, especially over the last couple of years, are always top notch. So I think they did the same this year. Although I will say, overall, in terms of presentation, whoever wrote or writes for Aisha Tyler, unless she does it herself, her presentation this year was so much better. It did not feel forced. It did not feel awkward. And I enjoyed it very much. I feel as if Ubisoft came out on top compared to EA. Ubisoft show hit pretty hard, and I'll tell you about that right now. I mean, they showed off a few games. Start off with the video for Far Cry 4, which was pretty cool. But I'll talk more about that when we get into Sony's press conference. But right off the bat, Aisha Tyler was very refreshing, and there's a lot of adult language used, which was also refreshing. It definitely wasn't geared towards children. And while the intro video started off with the rabbits, I mean, there wasn't very much in way of family type games, which I guess lent itself to the fact that it could have more adult humor, which I think is Aisha Tyler's wheelhouse, especially if you watch Archer and stuff like that and her stand-up. But then they talked about Just Dance 2015. That looks interesting. I've played Just Dance games before. They're always fun and entertaining. I don't personally own any of them, mainly because now I don't even have my Kinect or anything, and I don't own a Wii. So, really, I just play it at friends' houses and at other events and stuff. But it's fun. But the intriguing part is the Just Play Now, I think is what they called it, the smartphone app, with a smart TV, and it being free, I think. So being able to try out the game probably without having a significant investment beyond what you already have is pretty cool, and it'll get maybe people to pick it up, the full version on a console coming out pretty soon. That and the fact that it'll make it a lot easier for parties, having up to, I mean, I think on stage they had 30-something people playing at the same time, and tracking all their individual stats and movements and things like that. And most people have smartphones these days. Is actually really awesome. The downside being is I can't wait to see how many broken iPhones and Android phones are going to happen if they don't have some kind of tether. I mean, it's going to be a lot like the first days of the Wii when people were throwing the remotes into their TVs. So we'll see how they adjust to that. And then there's that weird segue from Just Dance straight into The Division, which with an amazing trailer, if I might say. You know, it starts off. I mean, it talks about the outbreak and things like that, and the violence without actually showing the violence, which I thought was really cool. And you know, it was sort of depressing, but also at the same time, the end gave you kind of hope and what the game is trying to achieve. I mean, obviously it was a teaser and it was all CGI, but you know, it looked really good and it set the mood and the tone. And then again, it had a weird transition into the crew, which wasn't as drastic between Just Dance and The Division, but the crew, they showed off that 2-hour mission going from Miami to LA, I think, through a bunch of different places, and I'm excited for that game. It's going to be, again, one of those games that you're going to play just to turn your brain off and have fun instead of stressing out over your kill to death ratio or, you know, getting sucked into a really crazy story. And, you know, I mean, while those experiences are fun, you know, having something else definitely helps your gaming palette, if you will. And so that looks pretty cool. They did announce a date for that, but I didn't write it down, and you know, it's just a simple Google search to check that out. But I'm pretty excited for that. They showed off Assassin's Creed Unity even more, and it definitely looks like a next-gen game for sure. And the wall running and the scaling looks like it's more fluid and more drastic and quicker. So I'm really excited about it. And the French Revolution is a pretty exciting period in history, so there's plenty they can do with that, as they usually always do with their games. I'm behind, but you know, they usually do a tremendous job. And if you're a history buff, I'm not, but if you're a history buff, you know, I'm sure it's an interesting take on the way things actually happened. Then they segued into Shape Up, which is that Xbox One fitness game. And while it looked fun on stage, you know, on stage they have that wide open space, and so there's not going to be issues with Kinect. I played a few fitness games on the 360 when Kinect came out, and unless you've got a massive living room and correct lighting and you're playing it at a certain time of day, it's really hard to get it to recognize a lot of the subtle nuances. Now, I don't know what it's like with the new Kinect, since I don't have an Xbox One or a new Kinect, but you know, I'll reserve judgment on it. Although it did look, you know, it looked fun, and the idea of making fitness into a game certainly has its appeal, and maybe it'll help a lot of people. But we'll see if whether or not if it's just a gimmick. But so far, I mean, it looked entertaining at the very least. Then they kind of showed off an indie game called Valiant Hearts: The Great War. And it's based, I guess, on World War I letters from soldiers and stuff. And them showing that off, and I think it uses the Rayman Legends engine. That looked really, really good. Intriguing, artistic, maybe even heart-wrenching, and very somber and serious. And, you know, I mean, that would be something I would definitely want to pick up, especially if it's digitally distributed. I mean, it's kind of the thing that, you know, where I think the general trend is going is digital distribution, especially for games that are smaller. I mean, they don't require that much data, and so I mean that could probably be distributed on Steam. Hell, I played on console too, so I'm pretty excited for that. And then right after that, they showed off Rainbow Six Siege. That was alpha multiplayer footage, but I can honestly see myself sinking a lot of time into that game. I love Rainbow Six games. I was bummed. I mean, I guess she said that it's been 6 years since the last one came out. I think that was Rainbow Six Vegas 2, which was okay, but the first Rainbow Six Vegas was the best, I think. But you know, that's going to be awesome, and I can't wait, and I'm glad that Rainbow Six is not dead. They showed that Rainbow Six video, I think, 2 E3s ago, and then no one heard anything. So I guess they changed directions or something, but we'll see if this stays the course and see if it stays in development, which I really hope so, because I love the Rainbow Six franchise. So that was their mic drop moment, and overall I just thought Ubisoft's press conference really hit the mark. It got its point across. It wasn't super flashy, but it still dropped a lot of heavy hitters. It was well paced. The only downside was the weird transitions, but Aisha Tyler kind of made up for that with her humor, and you know, sometimes I think she's hard to watch, especially the last couple of years. But I just really think they probably had someone else writing, or the fact that they didn't have to appeal to a family audience maybe allowed her to open up more, which is always fantastic. So the next video is going to be on Sony's press conference because there's so much there, and then I'll get to watching Nintendo's press conference and see how that goes. So again, thanks for watching.